A couple of years ago, I was traveling pretty much nonstop for work, and I got a LinkedIn message from a colleague from years previous, and she said, "Hey, were you in Dallas Fort Worth Airport last Friday?" And I said, "Yeah." "Were you?" And she said, "Yeah, I was. I thought that looked like you, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything." And it got me thinking, and a week or so later, I was doing a speaking engagement up in Alberta, Canada, Edmonton, and I had the chance to bug out early from my conference and ran out to Banff, drove out to Banff, and then walked up a mountainside to a waterfall. And I spent most of the afternoon beside this waterfall and really was convicted, that I really wanted to pay more attention to making connections and reconnections when there was opportunity. Because of missed opportunities like that, we're all moving so fast and so busy, and it's so easy to just get involved in making a living and forget to make a life. That's kind of a trite saying these days, but it's true. And so I was inspired by the waterfall and the mountains and the beauty, and that sort of reconnection with an old friend. And so I wrote that song that I'll be playing in a few minutes for you, called "Old Friend." And I didn't realize at the time that I was writing it for this group, but as it turns out, it's pretty appropriate. So I wanted to share a different aspect of my art, that being music, and so I hope you like it. So a little additional story, addition to the story of my art, I guess. When I was 14, I bought my first guitar, taught myself to play. Still don't read notes all these years later. I can read notes, but it takes so long, it's not worth the effort. And had started on that path and had some good interest, was making an album, had some offers, had a great friend who I was making the album with, and really was starting down that path. But along the way, I became convicted personally that was not the path for me. I could just sort of envision myself in 30 or 40 years riding around in the back of a tour bus with old stringy long hair, and who knows what goes with that. And it just occurred to me that I was put on this earth to glorify somebody bigger than me. And yeah, I probably had a little talent, but gee whiz, there's 7-year-olds from Japan playing guitar now on YouTube that just smoke my talent. So anyway, I chose to walk away from that, and it was a pretty promising thing. Who knows, might have gone somewhere, might have not, but I chose to walk away from that. And as the poet says, that made all the difference. I spent a lot of years running in the corporate life, and still do a little bit of that, but I'm starting to pay a little more attention to the other side, the right brain, the heart, the creed. I liked what Carol said in one of her posts. I'm an artist. I love that. So I aspire to that. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the music, and I've been playing a little bit more again. I had put it away for many years. Really, I needed to walk completely away because it was my first love and it was everything to me. So for me to just, that'd be like smoking 2 cigarettes a day. For me, that kind of thing just doesn't work. So I had to walk away. But what I didn't realize is I could have come back sooner. So yeah, a little more to the story, I guess. I had lost contact with the young man, Vietnamese guy, that I met late in high school years, that I was making the record with and had a career going. Anyway, lost, after we split, he went and built a career for himself. He built a radio station. He built an entertainment company. He traveled all over the world, became an international human rights activist for the Vietnamese community, and is very, 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 very well known. Has a road named after him in Southern California. I was going on a business trip to Southern California, and I decided that 40 years was long enough not to have had contact. It wasn't intentional. We just drifted apart. We had different things going on, and we hadn't talked for a long, long time. So I went back to Facebook, where we had reconnected once, to try to reconnect, and I found his obituary. That was difficult. So when I went to California for the business trip, I visited his grave when I arrived in California, and again before I left, said my goodbyes. Had a beautiful sunshiny day with flowers beside his grave, and Southern California is always beautiful. But that too was a message for me to not let those connections or opportunities for connections and reconnections to go. So I made a promise to myself, and I guess to him there beside his grave, that I was going to write some tribute music for him, because he has done so much for the Vietnamese community and for others, and loved him like a brother. Miss him even though we hadn't had contact. Have had opportunity to reconnect with another really good friend of mine, his uncle, since then. But anyway, it has put me back in touch with my music, and what I realized through sort of digging back and starting to write again. I've written one for my friend Viet Jung, that I was talking about, who's passed away. And I intend to write some more. I'm writing some other things around that, but to his contribution to the world and to his community, to Vietnam. So that has pulled me back into music, and what I realize now is that I didn't have to stay away from music for 40 years. I did need to walk away completely in that moment, but I could have, at some point, safely come back to it and not been drawn back into it. It's a little bit like a drug for me, or it was at the time. I don't believe so much that it would be now. But that's a bit of a long story, and I may or may not share that with everyone, but it means a lot to me, and it has meant a lot to my art. And I believe that even the visual art that we've been working on in our process here with the challenges has been a part of that sort of reawakening. And I thank all of you for your encouragement, your non-judgment, and for the joy that I've experienced as a result of experiencing your art and interacting with you through Facebook, and hopefully we'll get to hang out in person sometime, or virtually, whatever. But love y'all. Really love the process. Share. I had no idea when Denise invited me. Like probably everyone, I just had no idea. But thank you. Thank you. So I've just been sitting here thinking about what this process has meant to me, what it's done for me, and I'm sure you all are thinking similar thoughts. I could not have imagined. And I'm thinking of it as a beginning, not just for myself, but hopefully for some great friendships. I feel like you guys are my old friends. I hope we can hang on to this, that we can do more of this. Thank you all for your art, for your freedom, for your declaring your own freedom and knowing that we're not going to criticize you. Thank you, Cher, for facilitating a criticize-free zone. It's amazing what can happen when cynicism and criticism are removed. Can't express it. Except, thank you. See y'all on the trail. This coffee shop is packed. Well, hello there, old friend. I thought you looked familiar. Tell me, how long has it been? Let's sit a while and chat and tell me how you've been. 'Cause times like these are precious. It's good to see you, my old friend. 'Cause life passes by in the blink of an eye. If you travel too fast, you'll just miss it. So seize you this day, remember to pray, and always take time for a visit. You say you lost your first love, your kids have grown and gone. You know the music was my first love, then the second came along. 3 decades and counting, we're not your ordinary song. And only heaven knows the reason she stayed with me this long. And time passes by in the blink of an eye. If you travel too fast, you'll just miss it. So seize you this day, remember to pray, and always take time for a visit. Well, my flight's in final boarding, guess I'm off to run again. But this moment's so rewarding. It's good to see you, my old friend. It's good to see you, my old friend.